Welcome to Pushing Forward with Alicia, a podcast that gives disability a voice. Each week, we will explore topics like confidence, ambition, resilience, and finding success against all odds. We are creating a collective community that believes that all things are possible for all people. Open hearts, clear paths, let's go. Welcome back to Pushing Forward with Alicia. I'm Alicia Anderson, and today's guest is powerful. He is someone who embodies what this podcast is about. We have Des Del Barba with us today. He is 26 years old. He is a military veteran. He is a survivor of military medical malpractice that occurred while he was serving in the Army during basic training. His story is unbelievable. He overcame a life-threatening infection that required him to have 43 surgeries, and he had to fight for his life. And here he is, and he's accomplished so much. And he's a badass wheelchair tennis player and athlete, which we're going to dive into as well. That's how we met. Des, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Can you tell us a little bit about who you are, whatever you're comfortable with sharing?
Yeah, so I'm 26 years old. I'm born and raised in Stockton, California. I graduated from Sonoma State University with my bachelor's in business management. And I enlisted in the U.S. Army, trying to get into the officer candidate program to go to officer candidate school. But yeah, the disease I got while in basic training was called necrotizing fasciitis, and I got it from strep A being misdiagnosed and not treated correctly.
Strep A meaning strep throat.
Yeah, strep throat. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So went to Fort Benning, Georgia. That's where I was stationed during basic. During week 5 of basic training, I started feeling like sore throat coming on, basically. And a lot of my peers around me, they were feeling the same way and stuff. So I requested to go to, you have to request while you're in training to go to the medical center. It's called sick call. So you have to request to go to sick call, and then they'll get you a bus and take you over there, since it's like about 1.5 miles, 2 miles down the road. So the first day that I requested to go to sick call, it got denied because our drill sergeants didn't, they were late to, letting us out of our company. So we missed the bus and we didn't get to go on the bus to go there. So second day, requested again, and I got to get seen by the athletic trainer. So Monday happened, didn't get to go see anybody because the drill sergeants messed up their logistics or whatever. So I missed the bus, didn't get to go. Tuesday, made sure that we would get on that bus and go see the medical staff. So I went to go see the athletic trainer, got in. He basically told me that I was sore from running, in the combat boots all day and stuff. Basic training, you do a lot of physical activity. We climb up walls, jump down things, and do all sorts of obstacle courses and stuff like that. So Wednesday, I requested to go to sick call again, but this time was for my throat. I got seen by a doctor who basically swabbed me for strep A, and there's 2 types of strep A. So one, the results can come back rapidly, like within 10, 15 minutes. The other one takes 48 hours to get a result back. So she swabbed me for both. The rapid one came back negative, and then she just gave me throat lozenges for the time being to help with the throat pain. And she told me that she would contact my drill sergeants when the results for the 48-hour test came back. So Thursday, I kept doing training. And as the week progresses, by the way, the pain keeps going up more and more for me. It keeps increasing. Friday, I go to the athletic trainer again, leg pain is going through the roof. He gives me ibuprofens and stuff like that. Friday night, my throat test comes back that she swabbed me for, and it comes back positive. They don't notify the trainees at all. What the medical staff does is they notify the drill sergeants. So she sent my drill sergeants a note saying that Barba positive for strep A, notify immediately and send to medical center to get penicillin shot. And we have like the notes and everything of them sending that. So it's all like documented and stuff. No drill sergeant told me. I don't know if they missed it. I don't know if they just didn't care, or I don't know if they were like, oh, we'll tell them Saturday or next day or whatever. Saturday, I end up going to the ER because I'm feeling horrible. I can barely walk, everything. My throat feels like sharp blades when I swallow. I can barely eat. And when I get there, they take my vitals, which are again documented and through the roof. They check out my legs, which are very swollen. Again, Friday evening, she sent, my drill sergeant that was positive. So Saturday when I go to the ER, it's all documented. It should be in the system that I'm positive for strep A. The ER doctor came in, clocked in, said I was fine. Literally, again, documented the time he was in with me. It was 2 minutes and like 15 seconds. He came in, said I was fine, gave me more throat lozenges, and sent me back to the barracks. Sunday was the next day, and Sundays in basic training are like they're for basically quote unquote rest days where you clean the barracks and you can go to church or the mosque or whatever your religious preference is. So Sunday I rested and I was feeling horrible. I couldn't move. Sunday night I couldn't sleep. I couldn't use the restroom. I couldn't even pee. Like everything was not going well. I was sweating. I fell off my bed. One of my battle buddies, because during the nighttime you have something called fire watch. So they ran to go get a drill sergeant. Took about 10, 15 minutes. They couldn't find one. Waited another 2 hours, 3 hours until they could find one. Drill sergeant finally came down. Then they took me to the ER again. And then when I got to the ER, you know, legs are swollen. This doctor noticed something was wrong, and they sent me to off base to a civilian hospital called Piedmont, which is just around the corner from Fort Benning. And those civilian doctors noticed something was very wrong and something was bad. I remember him taking a scalpel and like cutting a little piece of my ankle, just like, and like it was just like purple blood. Like the blood was not red. It was like purple, like black, like it was like infected. And then next thing I know, they put that mask over me to put me out. And then I wake up in Fort Sam Houston, Texas. Had my left leg amputated above the knee. I had major debridements on my right leg all the way up to my underarms and my glute. So they debrided muscle tissue and everything that was infected by the flesh-eating disease. They debrided off. So I had a lot of wound vacs and IVs in knee and stuff. And at that point, I was not skin grafted yet, but I obviously was going to have to get skin grafted. So since my legs were all debrided and that's what got hit first, they had to skin graft my chest and back because that was the only good skin I had on my body besides my neck and face. Yeah, it's spread over 55% of my body. So 55% of my body is skin grafted. And when they called my parents to tell them what had happened, they told them to make their phone calls to the rest of my family because they said there's a 10% chance that he will live and the other percent chance that he's not going to make it. They thought they were going to have to amputate all four of my limbs. I am very grateful that it was only one. So it was very intense and very bad, dark memories. But I'm glad to be sitting here with you today to tell the story and to raise awareness for what had happened. So
I am so glad that you are too. And that statement that you just made, I am so glad that they only had to amputate one limb. That statement alone is shocking. What I heard you also say was that this was almost like, it sounds like an outbreak of strep in the barracks, and this was a problem there that was not addressed. And I feel like we hear a lot about military service injuries and the things that happen to people while in service, but we don't hear a whole lot about malpractice. How common is this? Like,
So yeah, usually when you think of like, injuries in the military, they're from combat or deployments, and the medical malpractice within the military is actually more common than you would think. It just doesn't get the media attention when it does happen because I would say, I don't know the exact statistic, but I would say 90% of the time when there is malpractice in the military, that soldier, Marine, airman, they die. So it's just like this airman, soldier, Marine died while in training, and that's all that gets said really. There's no really more detail, like what happened with me for surviving. Now all the details are out and everything's getting uncovered. I personally have met with numerous families that have dealt with medical malpractice, either their son, daughter, or husband, wife. And like I said, 90% of them that I meet, their loved ones are dead. They're gone. So I don't know the exact statistics, but it is very common. And it's something that I advocated for on Capitol Hill, testifying in front of the Armed Service Committee for the subcommittee of Congress. So in front of Congress members on that committee, it was for quality assurance in the military medical. So basically, they asked me to come testify, tell my story, my personal experience with it. That way, these, members of Congress that write the laws and can help make efforts to change it hear, the wrongdoings of, what's going on at a lot of military hospitals.
and I know that we've talked about this, and I don't know that I'm going to use the right word, so maybe you can help me through it. But I know that you had told me while you were telling me about your incredible story when we met on the tennis court that when you're signing up to the military, there's rules or something that you're not allowed to claim malpractice. And I know you're working through the HERO Act, or can you talk a little bit about some of the legislation that you're advocating for that's so powerful to change this? So hopefully other service members are going to be safer from these horrific events that you had to live through.
Yeah. Let's just say this happened while in a civilian setting, right? Like this, what happened to me. I have the right to sue basically the hospital staff, go to court and get recourse, I guess, for what the hospital staff, their mess up. There would be disciplinary actions on them, probably get fired, probably lose their license. So in the military, we don't have that. It's called the Ferris Doctrine. So it protects the hospitals, it protects the medical contractors, it protects the surgeons, the nurses, military members, uniform members, soldiers, Marines, airmen, sailors. They cannot sue the government for any malpractice claims that happen to them while they are under contract. So that's something else I'm fighting for. Me and my family are fighting for is to give the opportunity to service members to have their chance at recourse. If in court it's found that there was malpractice that happened, if obviously the military's, you can get injured in a whole different amount of ways. So yeah, there's those gray areas, but in certain cases like mine and a lot of other people that I've met, it's right there in black and blue ink that this was malpractice, and anywhere else it would have gone to court and etc. That's basically it. So it's called the Ferris Doctrine. Protects the government from being sued by active duty military members. And the HEROES Act is basically a proposed act that we're trying to have Congress members pass, and it will allow service members to get that day in court against the government.
I can't believe that these things aren't in place, to be honest with you. You're listening to Pushing Forward with Alicia, and we will be right back. Thanks for listening today. If you have an episode idea, know someone I should interview, or have a story that needs to be told, reach out to me at aliciaanderson.com. That's ALYCIA Anderson with an O.com. Click on podcasts. Welcome back to Pushing Forward with Alicia. I'm Alicia Anderson, and we have Des Del Barba with us today. He is a survivor of military medical malpractice that occurred while he was serving in the Army during basic training. So this work that you're doing is powerful. How can we as citizens of the United States advocate for these things to be changed?
I'm glad you asked that, because right now is the perfect time to have, all the U.S. citizens help advocate for this. The ruling has just opened up to the public for public annotation and comments. So basically, you write to your local congress member, and you could write to their office and say, we support everything that it stands for. And as U.S. citizens, we would like this passed for our service members' protection if medical malpractice was to happen during their career to them. And it's simple as that.
Thank you for sharing that whole story. I know that that's tough. I know it was really difficult. If anybody's interested in reading more about Des's story specifically, start to finish, it's on his website. And we're going to leave all of that information in the show notes. And you need to go and look at his pictures. He has been through a lot. Okay, I'm going to shift.
Okay.
Did we miss anything before I shift? Because this was a very important topic.
I might have missed some stuff in detail, but I mean, to the listeners, like Alicia said, you can just look up my name on Google and there will be my testimony. There will be articles written about what had happened, etc. I do want to note, though, during the time that had happened to me, it was an outbreak in Fort Benning. I had a battle buddy in the same company as me. He passed away from necrotizing fasciitis. He basically had a heart attack from it. I think his body just shut down. But yeah, he passed away. And this happened 3 weeks before my case happened. And after my case happened, Fort Benning ordered $1.4 million worth of penicillin shots to administer to the whole battalion. So yeah, that's the only thing I think that I missed. Yeah.
We're talking about a penicillin shot. We're talking about he needed antibiotics in time. So infection didn't take over his body. That is a basic miss. And that is horrific.
And not to mention, he left behind his wife, who was pregnant as well. So
when you are done listening to this, go and email your congressman. And thank you for sharing that journey, Des. I know it's not easy. And can we talk about something that I think is so sweet and positive? Yeah. Okay. You and your parents have created an organization called Operation Des Strong. You're providing support to children specifically that have had an amputation of any kind. Is that true?
Yes, that's true. So basically, when my injury happened, I guess I call it injury or accident. I was in the ICU and I was getting a lot of mail, just support mail. My story had made pretty big media headlines and stuff. And during that time, Katie Perez, who's the mom of Jonathan Perez, she saw my story and she reached out to my parents saying, hey, my son also had necrotizing fasciitis through strep A, and my son also had his leg amputated above the knee. Crazy thing about Jonathan, though, is Jonathan was 4 years old when it happened to him. So Jonathan reached out to me with some support mail. And during this time, I'm in the ICU bed. I can't even move. I have to get fed through a tube. And he sends me a letter saying that, one day we will both have robot legs and we can hang out. And just then I researched his story and stuff, and I saw everything he had been through. Same thing that happened to me. And it just gave me that motivation and inspiration that I'm not alone. If this 4-year-old boy can do it, then I can too. So that was a little good moment right there. And we kept in contact with the family from then on. I'm recovering. I'm going through everything. When I come back to California, fast forward 2 years later, we're still in contact with the family, and Katie is always mentioning stuff on Facebook about insurance things because Jonathan is a little boy and he's growing. and his insurance isn't covering all his prosthetic needs. He needs a new socket because he's getting bigger and everything like that. So just kind of idea popped in my head like, hey, like maybe we should start something that helps kids like Jonathan that have amputations, because not all insurance is going to cover stuff like that. And maybe these families don't even have insurance to help cover it. So it's like having a prosthetic for amputees, it changes your whole world. Like you can now walk and you can kneel down and get up and you can move, you can walk around. I mean, you're not confined to a wheelchair as much.
You can be independent.
Yeah, you can be independent. Yeah.
Quick note on that I think is so important is to understand, like, the same thing is a problem for kids that have disabilities and are in wheelchairs. They grow, and insurance only allows you to have, say, a new wheelchair every 5 years or every 6 years. Do you know how much growth happens in young kids? And so that's the same thing with prosthetics. And it's so important what you're doing. Okay. So
then we connected with Katie and shot out the idea, and she was all on board. So we started a 501c3 nonprofit called Operation Dead Strong. And basically the mission of it is to help kids under the age of 18 that have amputations with their prosthetic needs, with creating them ADA showers, getting them wheelchairs if they needed, giving them stipends to go play like wheelchair sports, like, whatever, just support and financial and emotional assistance for them and their families to still have a good quality life. And that's basically it. And I mean, we started it in 2021, December. I think we're helping like at least, I want to say 10 to 15 kids. They're all amazing. And I know they're all super inspirational.
It's so important. And, I've met your parents are so amazing. They're just like the best advocates ever. Their voices are loud and proud for this advocacy work, and which is what is needed for you and in the military, and also for this organization and for the kids. And so like, this is an organization that I want to support ongoing always. I think it's so beautiful. It's so powerful. And I love that it came from this beautiful note that is also on your website that people need to go and see. It's like this little boy drew a picture, and it's just encouraging Des, telling him that it's going to be okay. I went through this. You're going to be okay too. And it's so beautiful. It's giving me the chills right now. I love it. Okay. So you mentioned sports. Your injury was in 2019. He is such an amazing athlete for only being in this community for a really short time. He is so good at tennis. And I know you play other sports. I want to hear what it's meant to you to find community within our community, within sports, within activity, within something that makes you feel good and powerful.
It's so weird. Okay. So December 2022, end of 2022 time, I was on TikTok and I think I saw like some wheelchair players playing wheelchair tennis at the US Open. And I believe I saw one that he had an amputation. And then I was just like, whoa, that is so freaking cool. I was like, I didn't even know this sport existed. And to be at the level of a US Open, like that's pretty awesome. Like, I want to try this. Like, I want to try the sport. I've never played tennis before, but I was like, this is so cool. Like, I literally watched the whole match and I was like, this is awesome. Reached out to, I forgot who it was at USTA NorCal, but they connected me with Marty, who's Alicia's husband, and he's also a wheelchair tennis player. And then me and Marty met up in Roseville tennis courts one day, and he's been teaching me ever since. And then one day he was helping me fix my wheelchair that a loaner wheelchair I got from the city of Sacramento, and Alicia came out in the garage and me and Alicia met, and then we started talking. And then now I'm blessed with both of these two amazing people in my life. But that's basically how I met Alicia and Marty.
You are so good at the sport in 1 year. You're definitely going to the US Open. Paralympics, here you come.
That would be the dream. And that's a big goal right there. So since Marty's been teaching me and, giving me pointers, I've been playing all year. I've been doing tournaments all year. I've been to Baton Rouge. I've been to Grand Rapids, Michigan. I've been to Dallas. I've been to Salem, Oregon. And I am going to Atlanta next week. I'm proud to say that I actually won 2 tournaments already this year. So I'm only, getting better. I'm super excited to see where the sport can take me.
What has that brought to your life to have these kinds of goals, hobbies, aspirations?
It's completely changed my life, because before I was working the sales job and I was just like, it was fine. I feel like, I mean, I'm gonna get pretty deep now, but at the end of 2022, when, I started seeing wheelchair tennis, I kind of realized like what had happened to me happened for a reason. And I believe that now. And I'm glad I believe that now. I believe that I have a bigger purpose than just working a sales job and playing video games. So I'm glad I leaped into something to try it. And I think I believe in myself that like, if I work hard, then I can actually succeed in the sport. But I mean, not only that, like the joy the sport brings me, it's like the people I've met, like you and Marty. But I've made like so many close friends just from seeing them once a month at a tournament. And then we live in different states, but we still stay connected. And it's just so awesome. It's a community where there's people that are just like me and we have a great time and we play an awesome sport and it's cool. Yeah.
We support each other, and that feels good sometimes when you're living a life with a disability and you feel like you're the only one. So I love that. And you're just such a bright light in the sport. And I'm so proud of like how well, I can't wait to see you in LA at the Paralympics or something, like goals, let's make it happen. Did we miss anything that we should talk about? Do you feel good? Did we cover everything?
I feel good.
So I like to end the show with a pushing forward moment, a little inspiration or advice that you could give to our listeners.
Yeah. It's hard when you're in that moment. Let's say you're in the ICU bed and you don't see any light, but it just takes one step at a time. And each day, take another step. And from there, and you might take 3 steps back, but then it's all about taking another step forward. And then in 1 year, fast forward, 2 years, fast forward, you'll look back and you'll be like, I can't believe how far I made it. And it's just all about taking that little step every day. I guess that's some little advice right there.
Even if you take a couple steps back, you got to keep moving forward. I love it. Des, thank you so much for sharing your story and being vulnerable. I know that this stuff is really personal and we're educating our audience on so many things. And congratulations on being such an amazing, sweet human being. I'm so glad you're in our lives. Thank you for your time and your friendship, which is going to continue to grow. I know it.
Yeah.
And thank you to our Pushing Forward community who continues to show up for us every week. Thank you for subscribing. Please review. And every time you show up for us, our audience is growing and our platform is growing. So I'm so grateful. Until next time, Des, this is Pushing Forward with Alicia. And that is how you and I roll. If you're an employer who would like to learn more about disability inclusion in the workplace, lessons on ableism, and how accessibility can drive innovation in your company, please check out my micro training series at aliciaanderson.com. That's ALYCIA Anderson with an O.com. Click on micro learning.